call this meeting to order. May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Bennick?
Here.
Commissioner Chapman?
Here.
Commissioner Hallen?
Here.
Commissioner Hoyler?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Vice Chair Summers?
Here.
Chair Blair?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, may we have some current events?
Madam Chair, we absolutely can, but I need to inform you that we do not have a staff member from the City Attorney's Office present. I think Deb Perry is going to try to see where they're at. Without the City Attorney, we actually cannot conduct the meeting, so we'll see if we can't track somebody down. We'll give us a couple seconds, and we'll see if we can't find out where a particular staff member's at.
Okay. At this time, I am going to call a recess. Commissioners, please shut your mics off. Reopen the meeting at this time. May we have current events report, please?
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. As we get started tonight, I just wanted to mention that the 2030 General Plan is kicking off, and at the March meeting, Adam Copeland will actually be here to lead you through a visioning process as we start trying to gather input for that plan, with the goal being to have that on the November 2013 ballot for the approval of the general plan. Exciting project that's currently in the works is the bowling alley that was very close to being fruition is actually back in construction. They've actually started the interior work again. There's new ownership. They have a very aggressive time schedule, and I firmly believe that we'll see them open in the spring. And kind of connected to that, although not directly related, from a transportation aspect, we all know how important transportation is as we talk about planning and development. For those of you who might have noticed, the widening that's taking place at Litchfield and Waddell will certainly help, I think, facilitate traffic to that project. So a bit of good news, moving in the right direction. And with that, I'll conclude my report.
Thank you. At this time, Commissioners, does anyone have anything that they would like to discuss?
Yes, I'd like to
Alan?
mention, I did attend a public input meeting on November 29th related to crosswalks and bikeways. It was, I think, sponsored by Public Works and maybe the police department. There was quite a turnout, and most of the turnout was discussing traffic around schools. And it was so happened that one that came up was a road that I'm familiar with from riding bike, and that's Greer Ranch Parkway in front of Sonoran Heights Elementary School. And if you've ever been over there, Greer Ranch Parkway is a collector, 2 lanes, 1 lane each direction with bike paths until it gets in front of the school, and then the bike paths and everything disappear, and it's 1 lane in each direction. And one of the things that came up is that these schools, because of their funding and stuff, don't really have adequate parking. And when you get over to Greer Ranch or Sonoran Heights School at pickup time, I guess it's a real zoo. And it's a real enforcement problem for the police department. And I guess what I got out of this meeting is that maybe at some point we should have a little workshop and discuss street cross sections in the vicinity of schools. I have a feeling we maybe should be providing some street parking type things on the streets around the schools, because when you look at the collector systems that we have in the city, there is no provision for on-street parking on a collector. And this school is sided on 2 sides by collectors with no parking. And I assume it's always a problem at pickup or at times when they have like parents' night and the things that go on at a school. So it's just something I think we should maybe look at a little bit, is this issue. And I think it would also be worthwhile to have, I can't remember who headed the meeting, it's been so long ago now, but it might be interesting to have a little presentation on the sidewalk bikeway issue also, that I know they're working on a plan. And I think it's the type of thing that should be in the comprehensive plan or in the transportation plan. So.
Commissioner Howland, we'll certainly coordinate with Nick Messia, the city engineer, and see if we can't. They recently just presented to council workshop comprehensive study of sidewalks and crosswalks approximately a month ago, or maybe a little less. So we'll see if we can't coordinate with him and schedule a time at an upcoming meeting for him to bring that presentation.
We were also at one time going to pursue a comprehensive bikeway plan for the city, and I think all of this kind of ties together. But there was this issue of the general cross sections around schools also that I think we need to look at. Jeff was there at that meeting if he wants to refresh what went on. It's getting so long ago. It's in my old age memory bank already. So, but it was a good meeting, and I compliment staff that did head that up. Thank you.
Great. Any other commissioners have anything they'd like to discuss? Okay. At this time, I'm going to have a call to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on anything that is not on the agenda tonight? Seeing none, I close that. And commissioners, at this time, we're going to do the consideration action on November 9th's meeting. May I have a motion?
So moved. I second that.
Okay, commissioners, please vote.
Where is it for? Okay.
The motion carries with a vote of 7 ayes.
Thank you. Okay, now at this time, we're going to move forward with FS 11-315.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. My first presentation tonight is Cash for Cans at Litchfield and Waddell. The subject property is located on the northeast corner of Waddell and Litchfield at the Safeway Plaza. In particular, it is located in the fuel island out near the corner, and in red is showing exactly where the Cash for Cans is going. It is two parking spaces, which are access spaces for the entire master plan. Just to give you a visual of what the Cash for Cans facility or station looks like, two alterations that we have as conditions on here is that the color scheme will match the color scheme of the master facility. Also, you notice the Rubbermaid trash containers. We are going to require containers that are consistent with the furniture that is consistent with the facility. And very brief, but that concludes my presentation. Are any questions you may have?
Okay. Commissioner Summers.
I just had a very quick question. That one of the spaces on that side is a handicap space.
Yes.
I'm wondering whether the handicap space is required to be part of that gas station facility, or is just a space, and would you need to replace it someplace else, I guess is my question.
Yes, sir. That will be replaced, just adjacent to the facility.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you. That's the end of my questions.
Commissioner Hoyland.
The only question I had or recommendation was, if you looked at that first picture, the corner of it, it looked like someone had decided to run into it on that corner of that picture of that, whatever. My only thing is, why don't we have pipe bollards or something like that for safety? Someone smashing into this thing, because you are in a fuel station. You do have people that are on their phones, they don't pay attention, and bam. Especially if this thing's going to blend into the surrounding areas. It's just a safety thing for me. I mean, you can even core them and make them the sleeved with cotter pins where they pull out in case something happens, that this thing does need to be removed. That's my only suggestion or recommendation, is that pipe bollards are put around this thing for safety reasons, both for the facility itself being damaged as well as people not paying attention. I'd rather see them hit a pipe bollard than someone losing money on this, because if it's at 1 a.m. in the morning, they're going to drive off, and whoever owns this is going to be out a lot of money. So that's my recommendation.
Would that be a revision to a stipulation or an addition of a stipulation for that item?
I think so.
Okay. So that would be stipulation number.
That would be stipulation E. And my suggestion would be the two bollards, because it does back up into a curb.
Yeah.
So the addition of two bollards to the site plan.
Yeah, and I would say evenly spaced on the side as it's facing the traffic, evenly spaced somewhere along this, so it doesn't. And they can be I would say the removable type that come out.
Yes, sir.
You see.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question really quick? Is that going to affect ingress and egress of traffic? Because my question was, if there's stacking of cars or anything, is that going to affect cars going in and out of the gas station? And if we did put these in, would that affect it anymore?
It would not. And the reason being is the Cash for Cans station itself is smaller than the two spaces. And so the bollards would be placed right at the edge of the plane where the parking does stop. So that would not intrude into the drivability of the site.
Okay.
Commissioner Chapman, do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Okay. Commissioner Howard.
Yes, one of in their handout that they gave, I guess at their meeting, they said that these machines would be steam cleaned every 2 months, with 1 month in the summer. I guess I'm a little concerned about that, because having seen the operation of can recycling machines in Oregon, where they have a deposit, you end up with a lot of pop and stuff in some of the cans. I mean, it's not the cleanest thing, and one of the issues up there was the amount of bugs and pop residue. And I'm just not convinced that just steam cleaning these every 2 months is going to be adequate. I would like to see some stipulation that says something to the effect that code enforcement will check this and see what a proper cleaning cycle should be after it's in operation. Maybe 2 months is adequate. I don't want to say they should clean them every week when maybe every 2 months, but I'd like to see something that says that we're not going to create a public nuisance out in the lot.
Commissioner Allen, if I could address that. I think rather than code enforcement doing proactive checks, I think it's really a bit of a business operation in terms of how frequently they clean that. However, if it does start to create, the syrup from the soda starts to attract infestation, or it's creating a blighting condition, we can certainly address it from a code enforcement perspective, but we really wouldn't do it as a management function of their site. We would just, if a situation presented itself, we would open a case, contact them, ask them to get it clean, and then close that case.
I think, yeah, as a commission, though, I think that if anything, it should be done as a stipulation more so than.
I mean, I would like to see it cleaned. I mean, something so that if you feel code enforcement has enough leg, that if I walked over there and saw it was dirty and you could immediately enforce it, or if we had a stipulation that it has to be cleaned and no bugs. That's the two things that bother me.
Well, currently, on the city books, there are two codes that certainly address both of those issues. So we certainly have the ability to enforce it. So if you're asking for a stipulation because you think it should be cleaned more frequently, that's one item. That would be a little bit different than requesting code to go out there and inspect it every 2 weeks.
I wasn't saying you should inspect it every so on, but I thought we should say this becomes popular. It would be nice to determine what kind of stipulation of how often they really need to be cleaned. 2 months seemed like a long time. That was the thing that caught my eye.
One thing I would like to add, that there is a representative from the company that goes to the site every day to make sure the site is clean, and they do inspect that, and they do steam clean it once every 2 months and every month in the summer. But if there was anything, that daily inspection should take care of that. No overflowing trash cans, that sort of thing, if that helps.
I guess I have a question. What would constitute, are they within the restrictions, our restrictions, are they following code? Who determines whether they are meeting the code standards? I mean, if they put the building in, you might go out and say it's acceptable, and I might go out and say it's filthy. And it would be just a matter of opinion.
Well, Commissioner Smith,
I guess I don't understand exactly what the codes specify how they have to maintain the property, because I've seen some, as Commissioner Howland said, in states where it's very big and they become unsightly because the soda drips down the side and you have stains and that's very unsightly in those particular locations where we have the two Safeway facilities. They're very, very well maintained centers, and I've seen them become eyesores. So I have a concern about that.
One thing I'd like to I do have the applicant here that can address some of those things. They have experience with these machines, several around the valley, one as close as Olive and 107th.
Okay.
And we did go out to that site to visit that site and didn't see any problems. But I would like to bring up the applicant to address the issue about cleaning.
Okay, at this time.
Hi. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Matthew Hinson. I'm the owner of Scrap Incorporated, and we operate these machines, and we have for 14 years. They are cleaned every day, 365 days a year, by our service technicians. We also have a number of folks from our company who actually live in Surprise, so these machines will actually be checked more than once a day just due to proximity. We steam clean them every other month, to keep the syrup down, keep the bugs away. In the summertime, we do it monthly. In the 14 years we've been running these, we've never had trouble with bugs. We've only ever one time had trouble with bees, and that was in a location that was right next to a field. And we had Orkin come out, and we've never had trouble with bees since at that location or any other. As for the cans, you will not see syrup or anything like that on the side of the machine. The service tech's daily responsibility is to clean the whole front of the machine and a 5-foot radius around the entire machine. When we do the steam clean on the other service, we also have a shop vac where they clean anything around that might get on the ground. On the front of the machine, it's hard, you can't see it from that picture, but where he's standing, that's actually about a 10-inch deep stainless steel tray. So when the cans are put in, there's nothing that would come over the front. They're put in that small tray. They're fed through a small opening, about 6 inches wide by about 3 inches tall. That way they can't put other stuff in there to try and cheat the machine. And it runs through the process to process the cans, make sure that they're aluminum cans, weigh them, and then generate payment, and then put the machines into the cans into the other side of the machine for storage. What you see there is 90% of that machine, 95% of that machine is storage space. The actual processing only takes place, if looking at that picture on the right-hand side, in about a 2-foot area, 2-foot wide area down the side of the machine. Everything else is to save space so that when we come and empty the machine, it makes our trucking as efficiently as possible. Do you have any other questions? Or
Commissioner Allen.
I guess if everybody is, I mean, when I read it, it sounded like you were only going to clean it once every 2 months. That kind of threw me off. If code enforcement feels they have the leverage, if for some reason this wasn't adequate.
I think I can address both questions. There are codes on the books. One deals directly with infestation. So if for whatever reason one of these sites became infested, we specifically have a code that addresses that. We also have a code that specifically addresses trash and blight. And so, of course, there's some judgment exercised by the code enforcement officer. There has to be. But I think you'll find that they're pretty assertive in making sure that they're addressing those blighting situations. And if that presented itself, we would certainly be able to address that. And from a leverage perspective, it's, if somebody's in violation, we issue them a notice, ask for their compliance, and if not, then we continue on through that enforcement process. So we'd absolutely be able to address it.
Yeah, like I say, a couple times we've done things and then found out we didn't have an enforceable thing, and that's why, if you feel comfortable, I'm comfortable, since it's your responsibility.
Yeah, and just to clarify, these two particular codes actually come out of the property maintenance section of the Surprise Municipal Code. They're not really related directly to zoning, and therefore, because they come out of property maintenance, they actually apply to every site within the city.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Smith
I don't have any questions.
and Commissioner Beck.
I don't have any questions.
I think you took care of all of those. This is open to the public. I'm going to open anyone wishing to speak on this. Seeing no one, and I ask for a recommendation, please.
I move to approve FS 11-315, a conditional use permit for cash for cans that adopt staff's findings, subject to conditions A through E. Is that correct or no?
Yeah.
Commissioner Minnick, I think we'll actually have to clarify what E will be for the record. So I think it would be the addition of 2 bollards evenly spaced on the on the long side of the unit.
Do we have to vote on whether we're adding stipulation E, or
No, we can vote on it
is
as
that
a
clarification good enough right there?
whole, as long as you say it.
As long as I say that
Adding the
stipulation E will be the addition of 2 ballers to the
That's
unit?
Yeah, I have a second.
Second.
Commissioners, please vote.
have one more.
Am I the one? I already did it.
Yeah, but you.
The motion carries with a vote of 7 ayes.
Must have been there.
Thank you. Okay, we'll do FS 11-316. Hello.
Good evening once again. This is a very similar project. This is a Cash for Cans in the Surprise Farms area of the Safeway and Surprise Farms. This is adjacent to the Surprise Farms development. Happy Trails is to North Bell West Ranch. A little bit closer in, this is located, again, in the Fuel Island area. Same unit.
And I'm going to assume we're going to add the same stipulation.
That would be up to the commission to determine.
So we'll find out. Okay. All right. I'm going. Commissioner Hoyler,
Same thing.
you want that added
Yeah.
to the same stipulation? Any other questions? Do you have any other
No, I
questions?
don't.
Commissioner Chapman, any questions?
I do have a question. Looking at the map here, could you share with us exactly where this is located on the site plan? Okay.
Yeah, yes, sir. This is located right adjacent to the trash facility here.
Okay.
This is Bell Road, and this is the entry, the eastern entry of the Safeway facility. I can back out a little more.
That's good. I just,
Yes, sir. Okay.
Anything else, Commissioner
no,
Chapman?
thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Howland?
No questions.
Commissioner Smith?
No questions.
Commissioner Bennett?
I have no questions.
I have no questions.
No questions.
May I ask for a motion, please?
This public hearing?
Oh, I'm sorry. This does require a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this? Seeing none, I close it and ask for a motion.
I move to approve FS 11-316, a conditional use permit for Cash for Cans, and adopt staff findings subject to conditions A through D.
Second.
And commissioners, will you please vote?
Do we need to clarify what D is again?
Clarify what D is.
These are the bollards adjacent to the Cash for Cans machine.
Commissioners, please vote at this time.
The motion carries with a vote of 7 ayes.
Thank you. At this time, we are going to hear FS 10-275.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening once again. This is for a Western Towing rezone. The Western Towing yard is an existing facility in the city of Surprise located adjacent to the Northwest Regional Landfill on Deer Valley Road, right down 185th Avenue. A little bit closer in, you'll see that this is an existing facility. This is the property. And the issue we have with that is the existing zoning splits the property into two zones, which is against our code. And what we are doing is changing that portion of that property to IP, the industrial performance, to make the entire property consistent and in a zone that would be consistent for the storage yard. And that concludes my presentation. Are there any questions you may have?
Commissioner Chapman, do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Howland?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Smith?
No questions.
Commissioner Bennett?
I just have a question. Does the city intend on rezoning that entire commercial area to industrial, or is this just unique for this particular site?
Yeah, this is that particular site.
So in the future, there's no intentions of any future project that comes about automatically rezoning it to industrial?
At this point, no.
Okay.
No, sir.
Commissioner Summers, any
He
questions?
asked my question, so
And a good one
no
it was.
questions.
Commissioner Hogue?
No
Okay.
questions.
This does require an open meeting. Anyone wishing to speak on this subject? Seeing none, I close the meeting and ask for a motion.
I move to recommend approval to the mayor and city council FS 2022-275, a rezone for western towing, and adopt staff's findings.
I second.
Please vote.
The motion carries with a vote of 7 ayes.
Thank you. Anything else from anyone before I close this meeting? Seeing none, meeting is closed.